in listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, Verl Workman here with RISmedia's broker webinar series. We're excited to have you here. We've got a great webinar for you today. A lot of exciting things happening in business right now, and there's a lot of it happening with technology. And I'll tell you, as a real estate coach and a trainer, as I go around from brokerage to brokerage and sharing my ideas and thoughts of what's happening with technology, one of the biggest challenges that brokers and owners face today is getting adoption. And it's one thing to spend lots of money on new technology and provide all these great services for our agents. It's another thing to actually get them to use it and adopt it. And that's what our focus is going to be on today's webinar, is how do we get agents to actually adopt the technology and the systems and processes that we're spending and investing these huge resources in our companies to be able to do. I'm Verl Workman. I'm the founder and CEO of Workman Success Systems, and today's webinar is brought to you by RISmedia. Their agent webinar series, what we call this, is a broker-specific webinar for brokers and owners, is who we've invited to be on the call today. And we have a great sponsor in DocuSign that has made this event possible for us today. We're going to hear from them in just a moment, and we appreciate their support of the webinar series. A couple of housekeeping rules as we get ready to start here today. First of all, throughout the call, everybody's on mute so that we can have a clear recording of the call, and we will be recording the call. If you want to be able to go back and play it back for future reference, RISmedia will send you a link to be able to do that. Also, if you have questions, if you have specific questions for either of our panelists, you want more information or you have a specific question, use your dashboard on GoToWebinar and go to the question section and just type in your question. And I'll be monitoring those questions, and I'll take strategic breaks throughout the presentation as we talk about the adoption of technology. So feel free to be interactive on this webinar, and I'll do my best to get to everybody's questions. At the very end of the webinar, stay tuned to the end. I'm going to give you an important link, and at the end of the webinar, I'm going to give you several different downloads that will be available to you on this link, and they include Jodi Dines. It'll be 10 steps to getting great agent adoption that she put together specifically for the webinar. We're going to give you Tom Skiffington's 8-week strategy, which is coaching and accountability, the things that he measures and how he holds people accountable. As you listen to what he does today and how he gets the accountability, it's quite remarkable. DocuSign has just completed a phenomenal study of an adoption where they received 100% adoption of an implementation of a large office, and this is a case study of what they did, how they did it, and why it was successful. And then we've given you from Workman Success Systems, we've given you a complete slide deck of leading your agents to the next level and how we actually lead instead of push agents. So stay tuned to the very end of the webinar. I'll share with you a link on how you can download these very valuable documents just as a gift for attending the webinar today, and we thank you all for being here. Let me first talk to you and introduce our sponsor today, Sean McNamara. Sean, thanks for joining us, and thanks for your support of the RISmedia webinar series. We're glad that you're here.
Well, thank you, Verl. I'm very excited to be here.
So just real quick with Sean. Sean is an account executive that works with DocuSign's largest real estate partners, and his job is to help adoption. He's a self-admitted real estate addict. He loves the business. And it was fun when I was talking to Sean a little bit about what we were going to do today and the things. He just has a passion for learning. He has a passion for life, and more importantly, he has a passion for the real estate industry and the clients that he serves. And I think that's a really important, critical thing when you're dealing with big brokers and helping them. Sean's runs strategic partnerships for companies like Zillow, and has recently, in the last year, joined the DocuSign team, and it was a great acquisition for DocuSign to be able to bring somebody, Sean, with your expertise and experience into their wheelhouse. Seattle, you're from Seattle. You live in Newcastle, Washington, with his wife and a couple sons. Sean, real quick, give me a couple of key things that people may not know or that they could use better with the DocuSign tools that they have.
Yeah, you bet, Verl. I mean, DocuSign's most commonly known for e-signature. We were founded in 2003 and kind of pioneered the electronic signatures. And DocuSign's kind of become the gold standard for electronic signature. It's always funny when you see a noun become a verb, and when you hear people talking about DocuSigning documents, it's exciting when you become that ingrained in the normal process of business. What some people might not know is while we started in electronic signatures, we've actually have expanded our product offerings and offer a full real estate specific transaction management suite that has the DocuSign e-sign service embedded into it. So there's a lot of ways that we help our real estate clients. You know, DocuSign, real estate was hugely important to DocuSign's history. It was actually where we got our start. And it was hugely important and was a jumping off point to DocuSign expanding into other verticals outside of just real estate, whether it's financial services, government, insurance, mortgage, higher education, you name it. There's a need for businesses to keep their transactions digital and to benefit from the efficiencies that come from running your business in a digital environment.
I think it's awesome. I'm a big fan of DocuSign. I use it in my coaching business. We also use it in our real estate practice. And it's almost like you can't imagine a world where we go back to faxing and signing and going back and forth between clients to get things done. When you talk about a verb becoming a noun, it's it's almost a commodity. It's like, I can't imagine being in this business today without having DocuSign as a tool. And so I'm a big fan, so it's easy to talk about DocuSign, and we appreciate your sponsorship. Why is it that DocuSign continues to have such a strong focus in the real estate space?
Well, as I said, it was hugely important to our company's history, and being that jumping off point to expand into other verticals. Real estate was the first instance or scenario that a lot of people became familiar with DocuSign. So whether it's a CEO of Hewlett and Packard who's buying a new house and happens to execute those documents using DocuSign, that was their introduction. A lot of businesses in other verticals, their introduction to DocuSign was going through the real estate process. So it was where we got our start, and the fact that DocuSign is so much more than just real estate gives us an incredible opportunity to take those shared learnings from the other verticals, things that we do in government or in financial services that really move the needle and drive return on investment for our partners, are widely applicable. And learnings from other verticals can certainly be applied to different verticals. So real estate is near and dear to our heart here at DocuSign because it was so key to our company's success, and it puts us in the position to be able to then take those learnings elsewhere and then reapply them to our partners regardless of what vertical.
I love it. And Sean, I encourage you to stay on the call with us today as we go through and we're talking about adoption, because you've been so much involved in adopting products and services, especially technology and real estate. Please feel free to interject with questions as I'm interviewing the panelists today. I encourage you to stay and be part of the webinar because your insight is valuable to us, and I appreciate you being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You bet. So let's jump right in. For those of you who have received your November issue of Real Estate Magazine by RISMedia this month, you may or may not have noticed an article. And the article written by Deborah Kearns is actually a very, very good article. And it's titled "Brokers Face Technology Adoption Challenges Head On." And I love the headline. It says, as real estate technology continues to evolve at a lightning speed, brokerage leaders are tasked with showing their agents the value of adopting new technology offerings to stay ahead of the competition. And I love that. I love the whole concept of staying ahead of the competition and building your unfair competitive advantage. And because of the response and because of the focus in this month's Real Estate Magazine article, we've invited two of the panelists that were interviewed for this article to be guests on our call today, on our webinar today. And I'd first like to introduce them, and then we're going to get right into it and ask some of the questions that I know many of you are wondering how you can do to get greater adoption. First, I'd like to introduce and welcome Tom Skiffington to the call. Tom, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we're glad that you're here. And let me just give you a little background on Tom. Tom's not only a great-looking guy. As you look at his picture, you're like, dang, how does a guy get that all that in one package? Great dark hair and a beautiful. Tom's a great individual as well. And it was fun in the interview as I was talking to Tom about what he does in his business and how he helps his agents become successful. And I was humbled by the fact that it's a broker that really takes accountability to the level that most are afraid to do it. And I'm just honored to have you on the call today, Tom. Tom's a broker and a partner with RE/MAX 400 and RE/MAX Central. He serves on the board of directors of the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. He's an active member in our real estate community with the National Marketing Institute at NAR and the Residential Sales Counselor. He's won just numerous awards from RE/MAX, during his career, including #1 agent of the year in Pennsylvania and Delaware, and the #1 broker in North America. Tom, thanks for being here, and we'll get right back to start asking you questions in just a moment.
Great, thank you.
And let me introduce our second panelist, who I've known for I don't know how many years now, Jodi, but Real Estate One and the family of companies that is Real Estate One has brought me in on several occasions to speak to their agents. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of companies out there, but very few companies have the culture that Real Estate One has been able to accomplish. They have a great business, and their agents love being there, and it's really fun to interact with them and to see. And I've interacted with some of the in Michigan when real estate was in the tank, and they did a phenomenal job at smart sizing their business and creating great tools and incentives, and they invested when others were pulling back at building great infrastructure. It was really cool to watch a company be successful, and Jodi was right in the middle of all of that. And it's always been a pleasure to watch what the family of companies in Real Estate One have been able to do. Jodi's the Chief Information Officer. She manages information technologies, the websites for all the agents, brokers, and affiliates. She oversees all the lead generation systems that they do, and it's not a small task. Real Estate One is ranked #9 largest in the nation for real estate brokerages. So this is a big company. They have company-owned franchises and offices that include that puts them at about 70 offices with over 2,000 agents. They also have a mortgage company, a title company, insurance company, third-party relocation, and property management. They're out of Michigan. They serve only Michigan, and they're proud of Michigan. They love Michigan, and they carry multiple brands for their brokerage and offices, with Real Estate One being the primary brand. And it's been really fun to watch and see them grow and maintain their brand promise to the community. So Jodi, thank you so much for being here. Just a personal thing about Jodi, she's got 2 kids, 5 and 12, and lives right near Ann Arbor. Jodi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And we're glad you're here. Are you fired up and ready to go?
Let's go.
All right. So I'm going to begin. I'm just going to, a lot of times on these webinars, we'll do a lot of PowerPoints and a lot of slides, but the content that both Tom and Jodi have is so intense that I want you to focus on what they're saying and not what you're seeing on the screen. And so I'm going to have their pictures up here as we ask them a series of questions that kind of talk about adoption. And Jodi, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask with you first. Talk to me about maybe pick one thing that you've done as a company from a technology adoption perspective that's had the greatest level of success.
We've had a few. One of them would be in our CRM system. We try to create adoption around every single piece and part that we have. But what's had the greatest adoption there is our monthly market report that's written by president of our brokerage, Dan Elsey. And it's great content, but it still on its own probably wouldn't have got the adoption we had today without using our administrative staff and our offices to get the contacts, all names from our agents, and set their customers up on our campaign that would send them this monthly market report every month, custom written for our different regions. So that's one that's had great success, and that's an example of where we did everything else we'll talk about, but it's the key to really getting great adoption on that particular piece was just doing the setup for them and getting them over that hump. And people haven't unsubscribed, and it's continued to grow, and we have over 100,000 of those going out every month.
That's awesome. Getting agents to put their database in the company system, that in and of itself is a huge challenge. How did you get them past the thought that, giving my clients to my broker, they're going to steal my clients? I know that came up.
Yes, it absolutely did and still does. It's certainly not 100%, but there were those that just needed us to do it for them, and that got them over the hump. And then when there was doubts, we created a sort of like an addendum to their contractor agreement that was very clear on what we will and we will not do with their data. So every time that would come up, I would put that in front of them or in front of their office manager to put in front of them that said, here's our commitment, and we will absolutely abide by this. And I think that helped get some of the rest over that hump.
I think it's interesting you say that some just wanted someone to do it for them, and I think that's a lot of the problem is they can't, in their mind, they're so busy doing the things that take up their day in real estate, they can't imagine actually going through the process of compiling all their data and getting it imported.
Right, right. So when you have someone there in the office that actually said, here, where do you have it? Let me help you get it out of there. That really moved it along. And it wasn't an easy task to train those people and for them to even get in that stream to where the agent would let them do that. But once they were, that really shot up the adoption on that particular, in the CRM product and on that particular piece.
Awesome. Tom, if I can jump to you real quick, same question for you. Give me an example of something that you've done as a company from a technology perspective that you've adopted and had a high level of adoption with, kind of your signature story.
Well, we've had several areas where we've implemented technology, and I think it goes back kind of what Jodi was saying, is a lot of the agents, when you introduce something, they really do want to use it. The problem is the time and getting them to be able to do it. So we utilize our staff and our coaching process to basically do and set up anything that we're implementing for the agents. An example would be our social media solution, where the articles post to the agent's sites, their social media sites. When we get a new agent, we actually set it up for them. And we had roundtable sessions with our agents where we actually set up the links and set up the RSS feeds for the agents and showed them how to do it, but we actually did it for the agent. And I think that's a lot of the issue. The agents want to use it, but they don't understand it, or they don't want to spend the time to do it. Where if you can spend that time to sit with them and do it with them, they will utilize it and be able to use the system that you put in place. And that's been very successful for us in many areas that we implement the technology.
I think that's awesome. There's a common thread that goes between there that's kind of a takeaway for me is that, provide them with everything, teach them how to do it, and then when all else fails, do it for them.
Correct. And I think you want to get the systems that are automated, that you set it up where it will work, whether they continue to utilize it or not, but show them how to do it, but actually set it up for them.
Right, I got it. It makes complete sense. One of the big challenges you may come into with companies is that they don't have the human resources to be able to provide that level of service.
Well, that's true, but it doesn't take a lot if you do it in group sessions. Like a lot of ours, we would do brown bag lunches where we would bring lunch and we'd sit with 20 agents and do it together. You bring your laptop, one person sits there and you hit 20 agents and be able to set it up for them. So you can do it periodically, just be creative and have a lot of people there at one time.
I love that idea. I love the idea of a brown bag. That implies they're bringing their own lunch instead of you buying them all lunch.
Absolutely. Everybody brought your lunch, and we sit and we discuss the technology and implement it.
So one of the things we're going to talk about on this call, and I'm going to get this question next to both of you, and once again I'll start with Jodi, is Jodi, you've kind of formulated an adoption strategy of things that you go through as a company when you want to adopt the technology. And I'd like you to kind of take us through what that looks like and just kind of share with us the adoption strategy of a technology. You can use a specific example or not a specific example, but take us through that. And then, Tom, I'm going to talk to you more about your coaching program and how you get the adoption and the levels of accountability that you have. So, Jodi, if you don't mind, let's start with you.
Okay, this is really what's part of that handout that everyone will get at the end, but I will summarize what's in that. This is the ideal. I wish we could do this on every single product we roll out, but I won't purport to be perfect. But first, before you even decide on a product, what we found is the shiny new penny or what everyone else was talking about isn't necessarily right for you. And we've made that mistake over and over again. So you just have to, even though it slows down the process and we all like to make quick decisions, I think adoption starts before you even choose a product, and that you listen to what your agent's needs are, what their pain points are. Certainly there's a part where we may have to just give them their medicine and tell them they need to do it because we know what's good for them. And that's always a little more challenging to get adoption. The easier things are the things they need or the things that get in the way of what they're already doing. DocuSign is a good example of that. you were already getting signatures on documents, and now you can do it electronically more easily. And that product took off with us as well, as Sean had noted in the beginning in his case study. So listen to what they need, try to get in their way, track all the feedback you get, and don't get distracted by that shiny new penny. And I think we're all a little guilty of that at times. And then once you think you've found something that they need, again, this all takes time, and a lot of us have trouble keeping our patients through this, but it works best if you can pilot that, maybe not commit to a company-wide rollout, pilot it in one office or one geo to work out the bugs and even test, is this really everything we thought it was? Are we getting the reaction, the adoption, even in that pilot that we expected? And then if you are, then the next challenge is getting everyone on board as to why they should care, and start promoting the why, start promoting the product and how it's going to contribute to their business. So you have to focus on that, don't promote the product.
Hey, Jodi, real quick, the second one you said, you said why I should care. It broke up a little bit, so the audio didn't come through. Is that what you said is why I should care? That's the why for the agent?
Yes. Yes, sorry. So that's part of the promotion. It's not the product. It's not that you can now do electronic signatures. It's that now you can, it makes it easier for your customer to transact with you no matter where they are. And it just eases the pain on them. So you try to tell the why, not the what. And then after the promotion and trying to get their mind share into this game and why they should use this particular product or program, then of course you get to training, and that is a never-ending process. I think that a lot of companies think they train once and then we should be done. But unfortunately, you have to be there when they need you, and so that means you have to be there all the time and pick up the people when they need you along the way. So sometimes that involves training the trainer models, like we talked about a little bit in the beginning, training maybe your admins or your managers who are on site, or even having an agent team that helps support these initiatives in the offices. So they're there when the agents need assistance, direction, training. And then...
Let me get that clear. You actually have the agents in the office helping the other agents and training the other agents on a new adoption strategy. I love that idea.
Yes, there's brokers who have been successful with that. We tend to go more toward, we've tried to get the admins on board because it's a ship we can drive a little easier. But we have tried that, and I've seen other brokers be successful with getting other agents to support these initiatives as well, with some sort of comp in place, some sort of bonus for them.
Very nice.
And then also too, that training or engagement is, that my theory these days is as close as we can get to one-on-one is a perfect world. Now in a large company like that, like us, I don't know if we'll ever get to one-on-one, but part of that engagement, like picking up the rest of the people, involves figuring out their why. Why do you need this? Why should you care? And if they don't, you move on. And you set your expectations accordingly. Maybe you're not going to get 100% adoption. Maybe this product is just a fit for a segment of your agent population. But my theory is getting to that one-on-one or as close as you can is the perfect world to really engaging all of your agents to getting the highest adoption. And then at the end of the time, go ahead.
No, that's it. You just brought up another question as you were talking about that, Jodi, about the engagement. One of the things that came to my mind was, you can have training and you can put on classes, but how do you really get them to show up? And you kind of answered it by understanding their real why. Are there any other strategies that you guys use as a company that get people to come? Do you do mandatory meetings or all company meetings or things that make people want to come to the meetings?
We have had some all-company meetings. We brought back the convention, and that was well attended, so you already got them there. So that's a great opportunity to roll out your next major product at least. But we don't have any mandatory meetings. It's more we just need to be there when they're there. So that may be in the office, and that may even come down to one-on-one as they need us. So that's really where the engagement comes in, is that one-on-one or doing it for them, rather than in mass. It only works to maybe communicate the why and to give them some base level training for those who will pick it up and run from there. But really for the rest of them, it's getting to finding out what they need in their business and how this applies to them, and talking to them about that.
Yeah, it makes sense. You don't force them. You want to give them the message that makes them want to be there. And then when they want to be there, they're more engaged in the learning process. Totally makes sense to me.
Right. The tough thing is keeping that going, continually communicating everything we have and all of the benefits, because what works best is brainwashing, bringing it up all the time, and then finally when they're ready, they'll listen. And that's a challenge in this, is continually keeping it in front of the people that aren't using it and reminding them what great tools they have. And that just brings to another point is, long ago, we were chastised for rolling out too many things at once. We can all roll things out a lot faster than our agents can adopt them. So I think an important thing to always check yourself by is when did we last do a rollout of something major, or even something minor, and is this at a pace that really they can even absorb? So I think we all need to check ourselves once in a while to make sure that we're not pushing too much, that we have unrealistic expectations of them as well.
Yeah, I can see that being a problem. You overwhelm them and then they don't do any of it. It's like having too many irons in the fire. You have to be really focused on what your objective is, roll that out, and then once you feel like you're getting adoption, then you can start teeing up the next thing. You always have something coming down the pipeline, but you're not going to roll it out just because it's ready. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yes, and that's where involving your agents in that conversation along the way can help give you that checkpoint, that feedback. This whole process takes longer, though, than just rolling something out the old-fashioned way. But in the end, it is the right thing to do if you can keep your patients in check.
I love that. You keep going back to involving your agents, and it's not, and that seems to be a thread through everything that you're doing, how interactive you are with your agents as you roll things out, and how critical they are to the success of the rollout.
It is, and we're trying to get better at that, because it's such an important piece. It really is. Otherwise, they think you're out of touch, and they won't listen to anything that you have to offer. And that includes your branch managers as well. I mean, all levels of the organization, the administrative staff, everyone.
Love it.
I think that pretty much covers it. The rest is in the handout. Those are the major points.
Yeah, well, they're all great points, and training's a never-ending process is a big one. A lot of companies, I think they run a training where we do 2 days of training on a new system or process, and then we're done and we don't have to roll it out anymore. You're saying it never ends, and you train trainers, you train the admins, you train the teams, and you have a formula in place that is ongoing. How long would you say you train on a product or a new system? Will you train for 2 years, 6 months? Does it ever end?
It never ends as long as it exists. We make sure that we offer, even though we have online, recorded webinars and tutorials and manuals, we still offer the training. If no one attends, you don't have to hold the training, of course. So we make sure that it's available, or we make whatever they want available. So again, that's part of that listening, but it never ends.
And out of curiosity, as a company, do you do all your training, with a trainer in the office? Or do you use technology like webinars or online delivery systems for delivering the training to your agents?
Because as you know better than I do, everyone has a different way they prefer to learn. We find we have to offer it all and then some, and we're still trying to figure out maybe some of the then some, but webinars, recorded tutorials, manuals, in-office training, on-demand training, or whatever group will take us whenever, and even getting down to some, like I said, the one-on-one with our trainer and helping people just got something that we.
I love your answer. So when I ask you all these things, you're like, yes, all of those plus more. Any way that they want it is. It's like a buffet of training of training platforms, and you walk up and you choose the way you like to learn, and then that's how you provide it to them. And I think that's a really key point for our listeners, is that you can't just do what you prefer. You have to listen carefully to how your agents prefer to learn, and then provide them with a solution that allows them to learn the way that is most effective for them.
Correct. And just to add to that, the business may not see it as being fruitful for our trainer to spend time with only 1 or 2 agents. However, that's what we need to do to get those 1 or 2 agents on board and to adopt one of the things or 2 of the things in our buffet. And if they do adopt it, it is worth it in the end. But it's tough for the business sometimes to get past that need to educate 100 people at the same time.
Yeah, it makes sense. And the bigger you are, the more challenges you're going to have with providing training on a scale like you do, with as many agents and offices as you have to coordinate that with. And that's why your insight is so critical, because you're dealing with such a big audience. I'm going to switch for just a minute if I can, Jodi, and thank you so much for your insight on that. We'll come back to you in a minute and talk to Tom a little bit. Tom, I'll tell you, when I was talking to you and we were talking about how you get adoption when you want to roll something out, you flat out got into coaching. And, you know, most of the people that I talk to don't really understand coaching. And as a coach, you know, there's a big difference between training and coaching. And I like to say with training, you learn something new, but coaching, you do something new. When I was talking to you, I knew after about 2 minutes that you actually got it and you understood clearly the difference between training and coaching. Talk to me about your adoption strategy, how you actually move your agents to the next level, whether you're adopting new technologies or programs or just helping them want to grow.
Well, I think you're 100% correct in there's a big difference between training and coaching, and I agree 100% with what Jodi had commented on. You need to address the agents how they want to learn, and I believe you really need to do that in smaller groups, not in large classroom settings. We were doing many training sessions in our technology for many years, having large classroom settings. And what I noticed is the same individuals came to the same classes. So we had the same agents coming to learn the same technology, and I wasn't seeing the adoption or the utilization of that technology. And it made me sit back and think a little bit and say, you know, why are they keep coming to the same thing and they're not seeming to learn it or to implement what we're trying to teach them? And I came to the realization that, you know, it's just like going to a lot of conventions and you go and you get these ideas. You say, hey, I'm going to go implement it. You come back, you get busy with life. When it's time to implement it, you forgot what you were supposed to do. So I said, you know, I'm going to change how we're going to train. And what we did is we set up a coaching program, which it gave personal coach. You can go to the gym, but you're not going to go that extra mile unless somebody's going to push you. And if you really want, and a lot of the issues with these agents is that they want to learn it, but they may not understand how it works. So to me, the coach is going to sit with a small group, be able to teach the agents, show them how to do it, and then force them to do the work to actually do it either in front of you or as an assignment. So once they did it once or twice, then they really understood it. It's not just taking a classroom setting and saying, okay, in a month I'm going to implement this. I don't think you actually learn the technology unless you actually do it at least once. So with our coach, he had small settings and we will teach them how to do it, but then we make them do the work themselves to actually do whatever the technology is that we're training at that time and make sure that they did it once. And I think once they do that, even if they're not utilizing it at that time, when it's time for them to institute it, they'll understand it. And it kind of goes back to what Jodi was saying. Agents don't need all this technology every single day. So you have to be there and they have to understand it and be able to utilize it when they need it. So by forcing them to do it, even if they were not going to do it at that point, it gives them the ability to use that or understand it when the time comes that they need it for their clients or their customers. So to me, that's the difference between training and coaching.
So talk to me you talked briefly about accountability. You say you get together in small groups, you show them what to do. You'll either have them do it in front of you or you give them assignments to do it. How do you take that to the next level where they actually do it? And talk to me about some of the dynamics that happen in your coaching world.
Well, we have a coaching program, which you will get a copy of it at the end, which gives you basically, it's an 8-week coaching class plus the assignments. Now that is a more structured coaching course that I do. And when the agents sign up, we limit it to the first 15 people that come to the class, and they actually have to sign a commitment to the class. And that commitment is they have to attend every segment, they have to be on time, and they're committed to do the homework every week. And we make an accountability there that you have to do the homework assignment. And our rule is if you go home and you're not able to do that homework assignment, you're to schedule a meeting with me or a call with me, and I will walk through that with them. But I won't do it for the agent. I will walk them through, I will help them, but I physically want them to do whatever that assignment is. Because again, that will help them later when they actually need to use it in their business. So I think that truly helps with the accountability. They've committed up front. We've had a situation where one of the agents were saying, look, I can't do this, I don't understand it, I can't do it. And I always revert back to, remember, you agreed, you committed to me at the beginning of the class that you're going to do this. You're a little uncomfortable. I'm going to push you to be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's going to help you later in your career. And they move forward with it. So I think if you get them to commit up front, they understand the rules of the class, most agents will commit and have that accountability on themselves. They're entrepreneurs, so they will do that as long as you get them to commit up front.
So, Tom, how do you walk the fine line of being a broker who wants to hold them accountable and pushing them so hard that they leave your company? And that's a fine line that you have to walk, because you hold them accountable because you care about them, but if you push them too hard, they're like, I don't need this, I'm going to go somewhere else. How do you balance that and keep the agents with you?
Well, I don't think we ever push them to say you have to do this or you have to do that. When we do the coaching class, that is a pure voluntary. You do not have to come to the coaching class. We don't charge for the coaching either. Okay, so our coaching is totally voluntary. If you don't want to take the class, you don't have to. But if you're going to commit, you need to commit, and it's going to help you in the long term of your career. And we've never had anybody that goes through that coaching class that says, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't do this. I'm so sorry, they're pushing me beyond my means. Because most of this technology, we don't implement technology that's not going to help the agent make more money, save time, be more productive. I mean, there's reasons we implement that. And so most agents that learn that are thankful they learned that once they get through it. So we've never had somebody where we push and say, you must do the coaching. So I don't think anybody would say, oh, I'm leaving the company because they're making me do this technology, because we don't force that. But once you commit to the coaching, you have to stick it out for that coaching class. And I think the agents appreciate that then. And the ones that struggled the most, once they got it, were the most appreciative, because they would not have done that on their own. And they needed that little nudge, just like a personal trainer would be, or that's what coaching is.
I think that's awesome. I mean, I think that you brought it around by saying, you don't force them into coaching, but when they enroll in and engage in coaching, that you hold them to a higher level because they've asked for it, right? And they've agreed to it. I think that's great. So let's talk about some specifics of adopting a technology, and maybe something that's in your pipeline right now. Tom, is there something that you're in the process of adopting right now that you put together a program on that you're looking for a high level of adoption, and what does that look like?
At the moment, we really are not implementing anything new. We are talking about switching a product that we use, which is our transaction management system. Now, we've been doing that basically since year 2000. So it's not a new system, but it's a new product that we're going to be using. So I think it's a little easier when you switch products to be able to implement that. But a lot of it goes back to just showing the agents how to use it and how it's going to save them time and make them more productive. So I think it goes back to kind of what Jodi was saying earlier on why. Why are you changing this? What is the benefit to me? How is it going to improve my business or make me more productive? And I do that by a lot of times, time we change a product or implement a new product, I test it on my team, which is a member of 5 people. So if there's a problem, it's very easy to address or handle it versus implementing something that's going to affect hundreds of agents. So I test it, we try it. And then when we implement it, most of the agents, you build credibility with that over time because they know it's success. You've tried it, you've tested it, it's helping you make more money. It's going to help them make more money or be more productive or smooth. And then you show them how it's going to affect and save their time. And once you do that, they all want to learn it. And it's kind of reverse. You're not trying to force them to learn it. You want them asking, hey, I want to learn how that works. You're turning the tables on that because they understand it is a benefit to them. So if they see that benefit, they want to learn it. It's not you as a broker trying to force them to learn things that is useless for them, if that makes sense.
Oh, it totally makes sense. They have to understand that it's a benefit. The other thing I love to say is accountability is love. And if we don't care about our people enough to hold them accountable to actually do the things that they signed up for, then we probably shouldn't be in a leadership position. So I love that you've incorporated accountability as part of your training process. I think it's admirable.
Thank you.
So Jodi, let me go back to you for just a second as you're listening to Tom and talk about accountability and having that higher level of accountability. And now we're talking about I asked him about new things and new adoption strategies or technologies you're looking at changing or adopting in the company. Is there anything that you're currently working on that you're getting ready to roll out? And how does that, as you created this list and you were talking about this adoption strategy and all the things that you do to make it work, how has that played into your thinking in this in the rollout of what the next thing on your plate?
Well, we constantly have to I constantly have to remind myself and the team about what the steps are we should take. But an example of where on something we're rolling out now that I think we've done well and followed these steps on is a new intranet page, an updated intranet page. It's not a big change, but even then, we listened to the feedback, which is why there's going to be an update that it was too hard to use. We have the grand plan of once they've logged in, it's one click to anything they need to get to, and you don't have all of these groups you have to click in to find what you're looking for. Well, that's a lot of stuff on a page. So we continue to try to perfect that. So after a couple of years of feedback, we're perfecting it. We're making some updates to that, and then what we'll do is we'll roll it out again in a test fashion. So you sort of have a choice when you log in. Do you want to log into the new site, the beta we'll call it, or do you want to go to the tried and true, the one where everything is? And through that process, we're able to get feedback. Maybe there's some broken links we didn't catch in our testing. Maybe something should be worded differently. You can get all that feedback and continue to iterate that design a bit before it's live and before the rest of the world sees it, because you'll have a few hundred agents in our case that will jump on and take a look at it and are glad to tell you what's wrong with it. So I
love getting feedback. It fixes all your spelling errors too.
Yes, that too. Things that you looked at for months and they never caught them. And it's nice with the intranet. It's a good example of where we don't have to do a lot of promotion. We just have to tell them again why did we change it, and here's what it's trying to solve. Very little training is needed because it's, again, one click away from what you need. It's just maybe things they may not, that we'll get feedback on. And so that's a nice one that's easy enough that you don't necessarily need to go through all of the steps. But it's still good to go through them even when it's not a big rollout, when it's just some changes. It's still good to look at each step and consider whether it makes sense in that scenario.
Thank you. It's actually a coincidence that both Jodi and Tom use DocuSign. I found that out after DocuSign was a partner and had come on as helping us put this event on. Talk to me about your implementation of DocuSign, Jodi, if you don't mind, and tell me what that adoption has been like and what kind of impact it's made on your business.
Sure. Yeah, we had talked about this on our prep call because DocuSign is one of those that I think the goal is to look for products that where there's really nothing to adopt. It just happens. It's nothing new. It doesn't really change what they do. And DocuSign is one of my best examples of that. So to roll it out, we told the agents that they're now going to have access to DocuSign. It integrates with one of the form products we use primarily, which is ZipForm. And we gave them one sheet that told them how to link their account from zip form to DocuSign. And the only questions we got back were more about legality of DocuSign, concerns over e-signatures. So once we explained that it was fully blessed by our legal counsel, and they're free to use it. Once they got over that hump, it wasn't a product issue. They linked their accounts and they were off and running. There really was very little to adopt. And I've been told multiple times that it's the best product we ever rolled out, yet we didn't put half of the effort we put into our CRM, for example. Different products, but different scales still. And the impact it's had in, all right.
I just said that's interesting that the product that required the least amount of rollout has the highest amount of adoption. It says a lot about the product.
It does, and that's where look for products that they have nothing to adopt or very little to adopt. So I think that's something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Do you have any of those easy kills out there where you can have a big win and not a lot of effort involved? And that was one of those. And you had asked what the benefits are. It's really just our customers are much happier with our agents in the process, and they don't understand why, in our case, the entire process to closing can't be electronic signatures, which is more a local issue for us. But the customers absolutely love it, and in turn, of course, makes the agent look good, and they love it.
That's great. Thank you. Tom, question: as you've adopted DocuSign, what's the rollout been with your company and adoption look like, and what have you seen as a benefit? And this is me being genuine about the question, not a sponsor asked question.
No, I agree 100% with Jodi. DocuSign was probably one of the easiest implementations. That and our eFax, when we gave eFaxes out, were probably one of the two less expensive initiatives we've done and the easiest for agents to adopt. And I agree 100% with what Jodi said earlier. This is something that agents need and use on a daily basis and makes their life easy. All you need is one agent, and we actually had one. It was kind of funny. Needed 6 signatures from 6 siblings on an estate, and they were all over the country. Well, we had that contract signed in 10 minutes because you can DocuSign it to the multiple people. It's signed. It's simple. It's easy. Earlier, you would go back and you'd mail it to one. They would mail it to another. It could take you 3 weeks to get a contract back. This is simple. It's a simple process to use. It saves them time, money, running around. I mean, we used to run around getting addendum signed. It's simple. It's an email. It's signed. It's back. You send it to everybody. You don't have to scan it in and send it. It is the biggest time saver, and every agent has loved and enjoyed it. It's a simple one. That, and like I said, the eFax was another one that was a very, very simple implementation. You get something that they use daily that saves them time and money, they will adopt it, and they'll be begging you for information. So
I laugh because I love eFax. That was one of my favorite technologies, and I don't want people asking questions, how do I get that now? We don't need it anymore.
We don't.
But it was a really cool technology. Let me just kind of shift gears on both of you for just a minute, because a lot of the technologies and things that we launch with our agents have to do with lead generation. There's so many lead generations, and Jodi, especially as a CIO with Real Estate One, you've got all these websites you're running and you're adopting. I want to ask you about lead conversion for a second. And the reason I'm asking this is there's been a few questions on the panel that have asked, do you scrub leads before you give them to your agents, or do you let the agents get the leads cold? And what process do you have as a company to get a higher conversion rate on the leads that you generate? And I'll ask Jodi that, and I'm going to ask Tom the same question.
Wow, that's a shift in a different direction. I think that's another call. But I'll answer it. I'll try to answer that in 1 minute or less. So lead conversion, we minorly scrub them. We have licensed people that answer all of our calls, and those people answer the question up to the point that they can't service that customer, meaning they usually want to see the home. And if they're not working with another agent and they want to see the home, that's when we hand it off. We don't scrub them in terms of making sure they're pre-approved or going to those links. And how we get, I'm not sure if I got all your questions, but that's our process. And then how we get the good lead conversion, I'm still trying to learn from everyone out there because we do hold them somewhat accountable in that our better closers get more leads. So we try to funnel the leads to the people who really know how to work this business, and that's helped increase our conversion a bit. And we've done some other things, but I don't think we have enough time for all that. So that's my short answer.
Yeah, that's okay. I didn't mean to shift gears on you. I was thinking of it as a, adopting a lead generation strategy. So I was thinking of it as adoption of, we generate leads and we provide technology, and how do we get them to actually, make it a profit center for us. And I think that you answered the question great, is that you're having somebody, you talk to the client when the lead first comes in, do a light scrub, and then distribute it to agents that close. And I think that's a great strategy.
Thank you.
Tom?
Well, mine's going to be even shorter because we do not scrub them at all. Any lead generation that we set up for the agent goes directly to the agent, and then they handle it how they want to handle it. And it is geared right to them to be able to have their team or a lead person to be able to convert it, or some agents want to convert it themselves. So it's really up to the individual agent how they do that. Now, we do training and try to teach them how to convert the leads, but it's truly up to the agent how they do it.
Yeah, and Jodi wasn't saying that her agents don't pre-approve the leads or pre-qualify the leads. She's saying that their frontline call people don't do an in-depth qualification. They leave that to the agent to do. They just want to make sure we have a live person, and then you're actually looking to buy or sell a house, and let me get you to the right agent in your area.
Right.
All right. Yeah, somebody had posted a question saying, "What? You don't qualify them?" And that's not what she said. All right. So let me Sean, and you're welcome to jump in here if you have any questions. Does anything come to your mind that you want to ask either of the panelists before I jump into the bunch of questions that are on my control panel?
First off, Jodi and Tom, thank you. I mean, what an incredible opportunity to learn about the best practices that you guys have honed over many years and many technology implementations. It's not coincidentally, everything that you guys have been sharing mirrors very well our best practices. And, personalizing the value of a solution is absolutely key to getting that buy-in. Communicating early and engaging your leaders and power users creates kind of a follow the leader dynamic that can be capitalized on. Creating subject matter experts internally is a great way to create ownership internally within a new implementation. And when that personalized why that Jodi was referring to is realized, it is a huge asset in your downstream recruiting and retention efforts. So I guess I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say thank you, because this has been an incredible opportunity to learn from two people who have done this many times over.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's been, and while you're on, Sean, and you can all address this, and I'll treat you like a panelist for just a minute, but you mentioned in your intro about transaction management suite of products, and then Tom mentioned again, as he was talking about a new technology he's thinking about implementing as a different transaction management platform. Tom, I'm going to ask you to explain what transaction management means to you when you talk about a transaction management platform. And then, Sean, I wouldn't mind hearing a little bit more about what transaction management and how you're integrating DocuSign with that, because there might be there's clearly interest in that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I consider is a place where we can store all our documents. We can store them individually, not in a lump PDF, where we can easily pull out different forms and be able to give access to our customers, our agents, individual rights to see certain documents, but restrict them from maybe seeing confidential documents. Being able to have a plan that you can implement that alerts the agent or conveyancers or title company or mortgage company, whoever it might be, on tasks that they're responsible to do, and remind them of those tasks for them to be able to complete, and time, date, stamp those documents so we know when it was completed, by who it was sent to, and easily be able to track the full transaction, plus keep records of everything that was done, as well as keep all the contracts in place and the forms and notes and emails.
So, Sean, when you hear Tom describe what his vision of transaction management is and task management associated with the transaction assignments going to different people. When you talk about rolling out a transaction platform as part of DocuSign, is that how you view transaction management?
Yes, very much so. You know, the real estate transaction is very complicated. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot, excuse me, of stakeholders who have a role to play within that transaction. And transaction management is, in its simplest form, is a place for all of that to live, and a environment for all of those stakeholders to collaborate and perform their tasks and functions, to Tom's point, behind a set of permission rules to make sure that buyers are seeing buyer docs, sellers see seller docs, and that there's silos of information based on the role that they have. It's a way to bring organization to that complex transaction and give your buyers and sellers a superior experience to what they may have experienced on their previous transaction.
Where do I go to learn more about that? Is there a YouTube channel on your website? Is there somewhere that describes that? Personally, I'm interested, and I think there's a lot of people that are raising their hand on the call as well. So if I want to learn more about how DocuSign is more about the DocuSign transaction management platform, where do I go to learn that?
Absolutely. You can find a ton of information on our website. Our transaction management product is called DocuSign Transaction Rooms. So you'll see that under the real estate products. There's a ton of YouTube videos out there. You know, consulting our friend the Google and typing in DocuSign Transaction Rooms is going to give you a ton of content, whether you want text, videos, testimonials, whatever it happens to be.
I appreciate that. Jodi, you know, somebody asked me a question specifically for you, and she talked about, and it was about, I got to find it because it was one of the early questions that came on when you were first talking. I wanted to go back to it. With the services that you provide your agents and all this training and all the things that you provide, do you charge them for training, or do you charge them for any of the, you know, adoption services you provide, or is it all included in their compensation package?
It's all included in their compensation package. They, for the tools themselves, there's a small tech fee, but for the training and everything else, it's all included.
That's awesome. And Tom, somebody asked the same question about you and your coaching, and they've prefaced it by saying, if the agents don't have any skin in the game, how do you hold them accountable? Do you charge them for coaching, and how do you hold them accountable when they don't have any skin in the game?
We do not charge them for coaching, but like I said at the beginning, we have a guideline that they must sign, acknowledging that these are the rules of the coaching, and they agree to be accountable, and they agree that they're going to attend all the coaching, they're going to be there for the whole class, and they're going to do the homework. So I think it's more their one-on-one word between the broker and the agent. And I think most agents, when you're around your peers and you're in a small group setting, they don't want to let their coworkers down or their broker down either. So most of them are accountable when you get in that small group setting. You get into the large setting, there really is very little accountability. But when you're in a small group, one agent isn't going to perform. The other agents notice that, and they don't want to let anybody else down either.
Absolutely. Jodi, final thoughts or takeaways that you'd like everybody to leave with today?
I would say it's not an easy process. That's why we're all trying to figure it out and make sure that you have support from the top down for your process and for the time it takes to really make this happen.
I love that, and I really appreciate your insights and your well thought out answers to the questions today. Tom, any parting thoughts for the group today?
The only thing I would say is, you know, truly the agents do want to implement technology. They do want to learn. It's just hard with their time and energy. So I always say, if you're having training, make it productive for them. And if they know that the meetings and the training, they're going to get something out of it, they're more willing to participate and share.
I can't agree more with either one of you. I really appreciate your enthusiasm and your well thought out answers and your sincere, genuine desire to share with others what's really working. And that's what I believe makes the difference between the average and the exceptional. And I both count you as exceptional. I think you've done a great job today. To download the free gifts that have been so generously offered by our panelists today, Jodi Dines' 10 Steps to Getting Great Agent Adoption, to get Tom Skiffington's 8-week coaching strategy and how they hold accountability and what things they track, to get DocuSign's case study of the 100% adoption office of RE/MAX Ability Plus, which is a big company, and also our Leading Your Agents to the Next Level, you know, how to find hire great talent, what makes you a great leader, slide deck. You go to workmansuccess.com/start, and you can go through and download it, and those documents will all be provided to you just for joining us on the webinar today. On behalf of RISmedia and Jodi Dines, Thomas Skiffington, and DocuSign, thank you so much for being here. Please leave in the comments any other topics that you find might be interesting, and we'll make sure that we continue to hold these fascinating and engaging webinars going forward. Thanks all, and as you go into the last quarter of this year, just you know, pull the reins off and let's go for it and make the rest of 2015 a phenomenal year. Thanks again for being here, everybody, and thanks again to our guests. We'll talk to you all soon.